In the last lesson, we talked about getting to the runway. Now we're going to talk about getting into the sky. Again, we are here in our Cessna 172, holding short of the runway. Today we're going to do a single pattern, a touch and go, and then depart for a short cross-country flight and talk about a few things about flying both offline and on VATSIM you should know about. Today we will do a normal takeoff with flaps at 0. I will go through my checklist and then apply full throttle. As I apply full throttle, the aircraft will have a tendency to yaw to the left. To correct this, I apply a right rudder to maintain center line. At 55 knots, I will slowly pull back until all 3 of my landing gear have left the ground. Then I will set my climb out speed to 75 knots. Let's watch as I do this. As I pull onto the runway, you'll notice that what I'm going to do, bring my throttle basically right here to idle. Right as I get close to center runway, I'm going to put full right rudder, get me lined up on the runway. If I need to add a little throttle or adjust a little bit, that is totally fine. Doesn't have to be perfect, especially on a big runway like this, but we're going to get close to it. All right, we're lined up. I see 1-4 on the runway, 1-4 on the compass, and 1-4 on the DG. Set the heading bug there to my runway heading. They'll help keep me aligned as I depart. I'm going to release brakes, apply full throttle, add in that right rudder as we start going to keep us from that left yaw tendency. Engine's in the green, just checked my gauges. RPM's good. Airspeed's now alive, there's 40 knots. Again, we're looking at 55 knots here. There's 55, start pulling back. Now we're off into the sky, and now we're gonna level out a little bit. There's 75, and then we're gonna pitch for that 75 speed. And today we're gonna climb to 1,500 feet, is roughly the traffic pattern altitude here at Smyrna. About 300 feet below 1,500 feet, which is 1,200 feet in this case. We're gonna make our left crosswind turn. We're at 1,100. 1,200. Turn left, and we're going to gently bank into that left turn until we get a nice standard rate, which means this wing touches that line right there on the left-hand side. We're going to make a 90-degree turn here, watching our altitude, making sure we don't climb above 1,500 feet. Get my nose pointed down, start leveling off here at 1,500. Level off as I'm flying this 90 degree. If I look to the left, you'll see the runway is off there on my 45. At about this point, we'll go ahead and make our left turn again into our downwind. Again, standard rate turn here. Trying to maintain altitude about 1,500 feet. This is our downwind leg, or our parallel leg that goes opposite direction of the wind direction or direction you took off. I'm bringing the throttle back a little bit to help slow me down. I'm going to start leveling off here. See, we're flying now parallel to runway 14 and 32. What I'm looking for here is about 100 knots by the time I get to my touchdown point, or a beam of my touchdown point, which is where I'm looking to land. And I'm going to look to land right there at the numbers. So I'm going to keep flying here. It should maintain altitude, reducing throttle, just to help slow it down a little bit here. And here I am next, a beam to my touchdown point. So I'm going to reduce throttle even more. And I'm going to start looking for about a 500-foot descent rate at 90 knots. Right there's 90 knots. There's 500 feet. And try to maintain this descent rate. At the same time, I'm going to add in 1 notch of flaps. I'm looking for 45 off my left shoulder here. Out there looks good. So we're going to start making our left turn now. This is our base turn. At this point, we're looking to be at about 80 knots once we're in our base. Think of it like you're just starting your descent, a beam to your touchdown point, about 90 knots. In your base, you want to be about 80 knots. And on final, you want to be about 70 knots. Leveling off here. On that runway. Gonna pull up here, reduce our rate of descent. Don't want to get too low before the runway. We're gonna add in our second notch of flaps. Adjust our throttle because it adds drag like we talked about. Try to maintain about 80 knots. And we're gonna get kind of close to the runway here. About here looks good. And we're gonna start making our turn now. On to our final leg. If you overshoot the runway like I just did, that's no big deal. Just gently come around. Don't try to increase your bank angle. Just bring it on around nice and smooth. And you'll learn the best point to turn in your aircraft as you learn it. All right, we're going to add in our last notch of flaps here. Reducing our throttle. We want to be at about 70 knots here. As we come in, what we're going to do is right as we get about 20 or 30 feet off the ground, we'll bring our engine to idle, and then we will rotate or flare or transition our aircraft into a more straight and level attitude. At the same time we do that, we're going to stop looking right in front of us, and we're going to start looking down the runway. So right about here, we'll look down the runway and start bringing our throttle to idle. Bring it nice and easy down. We'll look for the mains to hit first. Here we go. Nose down. Now this is a touch and go, so flaps are coming fully up, and I'm increasing throttle back to full. Rotate. Go to 75 here. There's 75, and we pitch for 75. 75 knots. I'm going to follow the same procedures I just did, like I was going to stay in the pattern, except this time I'm going to depart off the downwind leg. And instead of stopping my climb at 1,500 feet, I'm going to continue my climb all the way up to 3,000 feet. So now we're at about 1,200. Turn left here. Standard rate turn. We have coordinated flight, adding a bit of rudder in on top of that black dot. (1,500 feet). Notice we're still going to climb out. All right, here we go. Crosswind, and now we're going to turn towards our downwind, and we're going to keep climbing all the way up to 3,000 feet. As we do this, I want to discuss a few things and ideas about cross-country flying. Cross-country flying doesn't mean you're actually flying across the whole country now. Cross-country flying just means you're flying more than 50 nautical miles from your place of origin, your airport where you're flying from. All right, now we're in a downwind leg. We're going to keep climbing out here. And I'm setting my speed. Notice that it's more like 105 right now. I'm going to set it for about 100 knots on the climb out here. And we're looking for 3,000 feet. We're We're currently at 2,200 feet, looking for 3,000. As I depart, cross-country flying can be complicated or it can be very simple. Since we're flying VFR, it can be relatively simple. You can just fly from one place to another, direct, over using waypoints. You can use just terrain features like roads or rivers or lakes, whatever it may be. However, most of you are probably going to want to fly with a GPS. You're going to fly the magenta line from point A to point B and get to your destination as quickly as possible without having to do the full VFR navigation log. If you're a private pilot or you're learning to be a private pilot, ever were a pilot, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In this case, you want to learn how to fly GPS, as most of you do, and since we're flying virtually, why not? Well, we're going to cover exactly how to use your GPS here in the next lesson. So don't skip it. It's very important. So I'll see you all in the next lesson.